Holy crap, you can tell that we are coming up to the end of this series. We now have another non-recap beginning, and this opening scene actually has dialogue, has backstory, has a setting, tells you a lot about a character. Like, it's awesome, and it's at the beginning, before the opening. It's not a recap to tell us what happened last time. I know I hate on recaps a lot, but oh my god, this was awesome. Anyway, let's get started with episode 49 of Fairy Tail's final season. Man, I got really excited about no recaps. I love it. So during this opening that isn't a recap, I'll stop harping on that now, but it's not a recap and I love it. It's actually a lot of little backstory bits for Acnoogia, who, as we learn in this, was not always called Acnoogia. He was a doctor, and his ability was, I don't think it was, he said he couldn't heal, but it seemed like he could stop the bleeding for wounds on these dragons, and the dragon who he was healing was named Acnoogia. And he apparently lived in a world, our Acnoogia, the former doctor, lived in a world where the dragons coexisted with all the other humans, as similar to the way that we saw Irene and the other dragons coexisting in that world, though apparently in that world during this time frame, the dragons were peaceful, and that was it. There was no conflict, whereas with Irene, the dragons were peaceful on their end, but there were dragons who wanted to fight and kill the humans. So I guess that is why later in this very scene we actually see that Acnoogia leaves, comes back, and he brings destruction with him. And in a pretty gruesome shot, we actually have Acnoogia, the dragon formerly known as Acnoogia, kind of like Prince. We actually have a shot of him. I would assume he's dead at this point, but yeah, pretty messed up. And the dragon's destroying Acnoogia's hometown, and that's where we start into this episode. So that's our backstory. The hint at Dragon Slayer magic being developed, the hint at the war going on with Irene and her side of the story with the dragons and the Dragon Slayers, Acnoogia before he was called Acnoogia, a dragon who was formerly called Acnoogia, and then the destruction of the Dr. Acnoogia. So it's Dr. Acnoogia. Huh, that's weird. Anyway, Acnoogia's town getting destroyed, and then we're into the opening, and then we get to the episode, because that's normally the order it goes in. So man, over 3 minutes of original content right at the start of the episode. I don't know which lead animator or which director got their hands on this, but thank you. Alright, I said I'll stop harping on the fact that it wasn't a recap. We're done. We're moving on. Alrighty, so caught in a time rift with 8 Dragon Slayers, and, well, it's going pretty bad for 7 of the 8 Dragon Slayers. So we see that everybody is now enchanted and powered up by Wendy, and it doesn't do anything. In fact, Gajiel's the first to try to make a strike on Acnoogia, and he doesn't do a thing. Sting and Rogue also don't do a thing. They're blown away before they can even land a hit. Cobra and Venom are taken out pretty quickly, and Natsu takes a pretty massive magic hit from Acnoogia, so things aren't going well. And then we get to Magnolia, where the rest of the group, who isn't caught in the time rift, is trying to plan a way to defeat Acnoogia, and even Makarov saying he has no clear plan on defeating Acnoogia. He's not sure what to do, and they're all trying to throw plans out, trying to be like, well, we could try this, or we could try that. And then Lucy has an idea, which actually is quite a callback, because I never even thought about this, and it's actually really clever. And boy, I hope that it's played out as clever as I'm thinking it would be in my head. I guess we'll see. Now, Acnoogia shows up during this planning session, and it's not really a planning session. This was kind of weird, and they always do this in not just Fairy Tail, but a lot of shows where it's like, you go do this, you go do that, I'm going to go do this with you two, and blah, 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 and they don't say what the plan is until they're with, like, 1 or 2 people of the entire group that they're trying to partner with. Like, it drives me nuts. So, essentially, Lucy tells a group to go get the biggest boat possible. She tells another group to try to, I guess, distract Acnoogia. And then another group to go and try to find a book, or well, rather go to the Fairy Tale Guild Hall. What they're trying to do is they're trying to use Fairy Sphere to capture Acnoogia. Now, there's some weirdness here that I'm not 100% sure of, and if it's a spoiler, don't let me know in the comments, but if it's not a spoiler, somebody tell me, So Acnologia captured Wendy and did his little, like, it's gone magic trick thing last episode, and he was talking and doing all this stuff. But now in this episode, it seems like his physical form is running solely on instinct, and I'm kind of confused by that, because if he's running solely on instinct, then why was he able to talk and manipulate and do things with magic and do things in general in the last episode? Was that still all with instinct, or was that rather just like him controlling him for a moment, and now Acnologia, all of his focus from his physical form is pulled into the time rift? I'm kind of confused by that. So somebody let me know what the deal is, because I really don't know how Acnologia is running on instinct in his physical form and not running on instinct in his ethereal form or whatever. So somebody let me know in the comments if it's not a spoiler. If it is a spoiler, I'll figure it out. Just don't say anything then. There's a little bit of dialogue exchanged between Acnologia and the rest of the Dragon Slayers, but it's really not a whole lot going on other than some talking. There were not many plot points. It was more of just, do you understand now why I'm king of the dragons? And that's basically his modus operandi, is just, I'm king of the dragons, I'm going to slay dragons. These are the last dragons around. Whatever floats your boat, dude. Actually, no, you don't want to be on a boat, because that's how you're going to get sick, and that's their plan. That is their plan. And it's clever, actually. It's very clever. But yeah, so Acnologia is basically just, I'm going to slay dragons, and I'm going to destroy the world. And that's basically his plan. Oh, and remember last episode when I said, where's Lamia's scale? Like, those bastards haven't even showed up. Like, where the heck did they go? Well, we learned where the large chunk of Lamia's scale went. They were having tea in a Juvia mug, or at least Leon was. So apparently they thought the fighting was over, and because of that they weren't doing anything, which, I mean, I guess if I was in a big battle and I barely survived by the skin of my teeth and they said the fighting's over, I guess I wouldn't do anything either, so I can't really fault them for that. I just thought it was hilarious that last episode all this stuff's going down, and we have, like, Mermaid Heel and Fairy Tale and all these other groups, all the Saber-Tooth Guild, all these guilds coming together to fight or prepare to fight, and then Lamia's Scale's just kind of gone. Though they were at Hargion, which is pretty far away from Fairy Tale's guild hall and from Magnolia, so I guess that's kind of forgivable. Anyway, Mess takes Juvia and Gray over. Gray and Juvia are supposed to tell the Lamia Scale group what the plan is, and they're going to have to try to piece it together from there. And they pointed out that there are a lot of variables in this plan, and they are correct, and a lot of those variables can't be kind of accounted for, obviously, because it's a variable, duh. But one of the big things is the boats. So, number one, it was lucky of them that the Spriggan 12, or I guess the Alvarez Empire, left a bunch of boats for them, because they could just pick the biggest boat from the Alvarez army. But it also kind of relies on the fact that the other group, Levy, Mest, Lucy, and Grandpa Makarov, can find the book to summon Fairy Sphere. Also, I just love how nonchalantly Leon is holding a mug with Juvia's face on it right in front of Juvia and Gray. Whatever. After Lamia Scale's filled in on what the plan is for, I guess, Fairy Sphere and how to prep for it, we get back into Magnolia, and we see that one member of Mermaid Heel, as well as Crime Sorcière and the Saber-Tooth Guild, are responsible for making Acnologia follow them, and that's when they piece together the part that's confusing me, which is that he is running 100% on instinct. His attacks seem very random. In fact, they are random and in some ways fairly seemingly careless, because he goes and fires a shot at the Fairy Tale Guild Hall and does some damage, but not enough. Like, he misses it and only blows up one side of the Guild Hall. Also, yeah, like I mentioned earlier, we have Lucy, Levy, Freed, I think I said Mess last time, Freed, I meant to say Freed, and Makarov, as well as Happy, Lily, and Carla, down in the basement of the guild hall digging through for all the books. They can't find it, and Makarov takes a book to the head like a champ. Oh my god, I would have stopped and like screamed for 20 minutes if that happened. And maybe it's just because it's a cartoon. But yeah, after that we're back to the time rift with Acnologia and the rest of the Dragon Slayers, and boy, that fight's not going well, but it is well animated. I actually was kind of impressed with the animation for this. I'm really hoping that their game keeps getting stepped up, because for a shonen, there's some pretty impressive animation out there. Demon Slayer is one of them, where the animation for a shonen is actually really good, and in the instance of this, it's pretty passable, especially for a long-running shonen like this. man, Acnoogia is just laying into these guys. Like, even Loxus, everybody thinks Loxus, the great Loxus landed a good hit. And it literally, the smoke clears, and Loxus is underneath, like, trodden on by Acnoogia. God, he is just... Because we've seen how powerful Loxus can be. Now, we know that Natsu's more powerful than him, just because we had that entire arc to see that. But, yeah, even Loxus, as powerful as he is taken out, and Natsu, of course, has been hit pretty hard. Cobra. Everybody's getting the snot kicked out of them. Anyway, back at Hagerstown, a lot of the Fairy Tail members have gathered, and we now have a boat. Again, like I said, it's one of the boats that the Alvarez Empire left, and they're going to try to use that. That was all that scene was there for. This is a very set-up episode. Like, there's a ton of stuff being set up. I'm okay with set-up episodes, especially when they're paid off well. Whether this will be paid off well or not remains to be seen. I guess we'll find that out later. We also have the Magnolia group piecing together at that point that they need to basically output as much magic power as they can to get Acnoogia to follow them, and it works. It actually works really well. My only thing is, though, is it's funny at the very last minute when everybody's showing up and they're like, we made it, we've got him here, we're out of magic energy. Like, I guess just radiating out magic energy, like, I guess it's kind of like the abilities in Hunter x Hunter where you have to contain it, because if you just let it out, it's very unrefined, very uncontrolled, and very exhausting. And the show just kind of goes around in a circle with these 4 settings. We get the Magnolia group, the Hagerstown group, the Library group, and the group of Dragon Slayers, and it just kind of goes in a circle like that, getting little bits of progression here and there. And it works because we're basically just using this entire episode to set up the next episode, which I'm fine with because, man, there's a lot of stuff set up in this, and I'm excited to see where it goes. But on the same hand, it's kind of like, could have probably played a little bit more into some of this stuff, but I'm not going to complain too much because I want to see the next episode and see how it does play out. Oh yeah, in one of the scenes, Lucy actually finds the book. All these books collapse on them, and she finds it, and that was convenient. And now they're flying to Hagerstown, where they plan to trap Acnoogia on a boat with the fairy sphere to keep him from going anywhere and keep him from destroying the world. Now, of course, everybody prepares for the fairy sphere by all holding hands, and it's a nice little kumbaya circle of Fairy Tail members. And then, once Acnoogia shows up, he rears up for an attack, throws the attack out, destroys every boat in the harbor. And that's when they realize that they're pretty screwed, because the plan was to land him on a boat, which was his weakness. Well, because apparently he is, like, going on instinct, which I still don't understand. And if it's not a spoiler, like I said, let me know. But because of that, he is very powerful and still very smart, because he destroyed all the boats, knowing it was his weakness right out of the gate, and that was it. He destroyed all the boats. The plan is ruined unless there's some magical thing, which it's a magical world, so I'm sure there's some magical thing that's going to happen, but still, he kind of messed up the plan. And he also giggles about it, which is kind of weird, because he is on instinct but laughing, so I'm wondering how this all works. I don't get the running on instinct thing, so whatever. But that's it. That's the end of the episode. We've got him destroying all the boats and ruining the plan. We've got a bunch of weak characters now because of the fact that they used all of their magic power to try to challenge, or rather lure Acnoogia to where they need to go. And that's it. Like, we now have to wait and see what's going to happen next with these characters, because boats are gone, but Lucy's got the thing they need for the plan, so I don't know what's going to happen next, though. I am curious to find out, though. Either way, though, that's been the episode. It's pretty good. I love the fact that we're now finally getting backstory on Acnoogia, and knowing the way that Fairy Tail does it, it's probably going to be some dramatic, sympathetic backstory where just before Acnoogia dies, he's going to understand the difference between him and the people who he hated and how he could have been better and something like that. I guarantee you they're going to make him, another bad guy, a sympathetic character. They did the same thing with freaking Zareth, except they played up to it for a lot of episodes, and we actually have a genuinely sympathetic character. Acnoogia at this point is just a bastard. He is the worst character, not in terms of badly written. He's very well written so far because he shows up, he hates people, he's a dragon slayer like the rest, but he's the most powerful, and he just hates everything and wants to blow it up. And he has the means of doing that. So if they make him a sympathetic character, I'm going to have to see how I feel about that when I see it happen. But My guess is that they are going to make him a sympathetic character, but we'll see. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Please make sure to like and subscribe. We are quickly past 34,000. I was going to say quickly coming up on 34,000, but we're already past it. I want to keep going, so please help out with that if you guys can or will or want to, whatever. And apart from that, check out the links in the description because we do have the link where you can watch this legally on Funimation. And that's about it. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and I'll see you all in the next one. Make sure to be there and have a good one.